Welcome back. NSIC football kicks off this week, and on Tuesday's show, we previewed the NSIC North Division. Now we'll focus on the NSIC South. David Brown back in studio to break it all down. But first, let's take a look at the preseason coaches poll for the South Division. Southwest Minnesota State is 8th, Concordia St. Paul is 7th, Upper Iowa is 6th, and Wayne State is 5th. The top half includes Augustana at 4, Sioux Falls at 3, Winona State is 2nd, and Minnesota State is the favorite. So, David, you look at a poll like this, coaches don't want players to look too much into this, but were there any surprises with this one?
One big obvious surprise comes at the bottom because Southwest Minnesota State is not the worst team in this division, not by a long shot. Now, granted, a 2-9 record last season would seem to indicate otherwise, but the Mustangs are getting quarterback Blake Gimble back from injury. He tore his labrum in his throwing shoulder in week 2 last year, got a medical redshirt, and now he's back for another shot at his senior campaign. But before the injury, Kelly, he was coming off back-to-back 3,000-yard passing seasons. I just think his return will improve that offense immensely no matter who's around him. There's almost an entirely new coaching staff as well for the Mustangs, save for head coach Corey Sauter. I think Southwest Minnesota State will be improved simply by the mere presence of Gimble. SMSU, not the 8th best team in this division, not by a long shot.
You heard it here first. All right, well, Minnesota State.
A fearless prediction.
Exactly. Minnesota State is the overwhelming favorite to win the division. I mean, amongst the coaches. Do you agree that they're the team to beat?
Not only in the South Division are they the team to beat, they're the team to beat in the entire country. Number 3 in the national coaches poll, number 1 right now in the D2Football.com writers poll. Minnesota State is just stacked on offense. Let's start with the 2 QB system, which they work to perfection. Ryan Schlichty and JD Ikawa both return. Each of them offer different skill sets. Schlichty more of a pocket passer, Ikawa more elusive on his feet, as you see here against SMSU last year. At the skill positions, they return the NSIC's leading rusher, South Dakota transfer Nate Gunn, more than 1,500 rushing yards last year. And then that's his backup on screen right now, Justin Taormina, also finished in the top 5 in the conference in rushing. Then you have the preseason Offensive Player of the Year on the outside in wide receiver Shane Zylstra, led the league in touchdown catches last year with 15. They're big up front on the line. They have great skill guys. There are some questions about the defense with youth and some early injuries, but every year they always seem to be able to develop a pass rush. Minnesota State has the makings, Kelly, of a national championship contender.
They are going to be tough. They're going to be fun to watch as well. But you already talked about SMSU being a team that kind of could be a sleeper. What's another team in the South Division that could be better than expected?
I think it's going to be Augustana. Now, granted, I think they learned their lesson last year going 4-7, and that lesson is you need to be deep at certain positions. They had such an anomaly just in the sheer number of injuries. Now, granted, they're a part of life. Injuries are a part of football. But the Vikings were down to 3rd and 4th string guys that started the season playing near the end. They had to burn a couple of red shirts that they really didn't want to as well. This fall camp, they were focused on conditioning and making sure everyone on the depth chart is up to speed. I think they're going to be faster. I think they're going to have that cliche proverbial chip on the shoulder, and I expect them to be better than 4-7. Now, how much better is the question, because there are only a handful of guys with good numbers that return offensively for Augustana. That includes running back Ryan Bradbury, really took off toward the end of last season. So I look for the Vikings ship to get back on course. Just how much of a course correction are they going to make?
We shall see. Well, David, tomorrow our NSIC live game schedule kicks off, and we have a pretty good one in Mankato.
Absolutely. A couple teams I already talked about. Southwest Minnesota State at Minnesota State this Thursday, August 30th, 6 p.m. on Midco SN2. We're going to get a first look at what I already said is a very special Mavericks team offensively. And then another storyline, just seeing how Blake Gimble looks in his return at quarterback for Southwest Minnesota State. So a lot of compelling storylines to look at, Kelly, in that first game tomorrow night on Midco SN2.
In addition to those, people can find some extra previews online as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't had a chance to listen, you want to get a full NSIC preview covering all 16 teams. I talked with D2Football.com writer and poll voter Matt Witwicky for a couple of podcasts, one on the North Division, one on the South Division. You can get those on our blog page, midcosn.com. Also available on SoundCloud. Everything you could possibly need, Kelly
Everything.
Stewart, to start the NSIC season off right.
Everything you'd ever need or want is on midcosn.com. All right, thanks, David.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, we'll switch gears to high school football. Jody and Jandy hand out the game ball for this week in North and South Dakota. Stay with us.